Morning, everyone. Could we all stand and take a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as we do with any program that is related to the betterment for our community, we begin with a prayer. Pastor.
Let us just pray and bow our heads. We all come from different ports of call physically, but we come to this common place today to focus ourselves and to not only hear, but to share. God, our creator, sustainer, and builder of the universe, we praise you and thank you for this time and this space to be able to come together, to share, to hear, to listen, to learn the conscience of leadership and our community. We pray now and ask for not just positions, but language of inclusion, that we means all of us, and that together we can do all things through your power. Bless this wonderful organization, this august body of minds and people of a great community, and take us onward and upward. This we pray. Amen.
Good morning again to everyone. Today we are here because we believe that voters should have the opportunity to meet and hear from the candidates who they will be electing, who they will be voting for on May 5th. We are here to determine who the best and most qualified candidates are to lead the second largest city in the state of Indiana. To begin, let me explain the ground rules. Today's participants or candidates will be specifically limited to the candidates who RSVP to our committee by the deadline. You know, to do anything professionally, you have to establish ground rules. We will only seat the candidates who have RSVP, and I will read the names off. For City Clerk, Angie Davis, Lana Keesling. First District Council, Kennith Richardson, Councilman Tom Schmidt. Second District, Michelle Hill, Michelle Merrit. Third District, Councilman Tom Didier, Mark Stafford. Fourth District, Matthew Sorg, Rusty York. Fifth District, Councilman Geoff Paddock, who is running unopposed. Sixth District, Councilman Glenn Hynes, Joe Renner, Robert Walker. For City Council at Large, Terry Anderson, Mike Avila, Kevin Brown, Gina Burgess, Michelle Chambers, Kathy Cross, Dan Lobdell, Lloyd Osborne, Michael Veranda, Lee Bradley, Councilman John Crawford, Thomas Freistrofer. For Mayor, Mayor Thomas Henry, Tom Cook, David Roach, Richard Stevenson, Robert Bastian, William Collins, and Frederick Olszewski. Those will be the candidates that you will be hearing from today. If you will refer to your program pamphlet, you will see the names of each candidate who will be participating. We are asking audience members to write your questions on cards. Would everyone who has cards please stand so we can see you? If you would like to ask a question, please start writing your questions now to ensure that we will use them for the forum. We are not allowing comments, speeches, or questions from the floor. We invite your participation, we encourage it, but you must put your question on a card. We have timekeepers today. Could I see the timekeepers? Would you stand? And these timekeepers will do their jobs today. They will do their best to keep us all on schedule. And we have worked very hard for the past few weeks to ensure that we put together a forum that is structured, that is informational, that is fair, and that is open. And we ask for your participation and cooperation to get the job done. In the interest of giving each candidate an equal amount of time to participate, we're asking that no answer exceed 60 seconds. And for some of these questions, you're going to need at least that long. And we're asking you to cooperate to answer each question as quickly and completely as possible. On behalf of the Indiana Democratic African American Caucus, let me thank you all again for coming. We invite your participation. It is our desire that we all leave here with more information than what we arrived with, that you will have a better understanding of the issues, and most importantly, you will have had an opportunity to meet the people who want to represent you and who are listed on the ballot for the May primary. We're going to begin today with the office of City Clerk. And the two individuals who are on the ticket, Angie Davis, Lana Kiesling. Is Lana here? Okay, well, she's not here, so we will begin. Angie, if you will take your place at the table. We're going to have Councilwoman Sharon Tucker, who is also one of our moderators, who will explain the rules for conduct.
Candidates, we're going to ask that you please respect the time. When you have 15 seconds remaining, you will see a black paddle will flash. When you have 5 seconds remaining to speak, you will see the red paddle turn red, and we are asking you to wrap it up. When your time is over, we will stand, and whether you're in the middle of a sentence or not, we're asking you to stop talking. Please don't push me. I'll stop you. Thank you.
We will enforce the rules today. To begin, the first question, and Angie, it looks like you've got a great opportunity here today. Why do you want to be city clerk?
Why do I want to be city clerk?
Would you stand and pick up your mic, make sure it's on?
Testing 1, 2. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, just take it off.
Thanks. Okay. Why do I want to be city clerk? I have dedicated my life, basically. I've been there 30 plus years in the office. I know every aspect of the office. I have served under one of Fort Wayne's most well-known city clerks, Sandra Kennedy. So everything I have learned, I've learned from her, and I believe I have the best knowledge and experience to continue her legacy, and that is why I want to be the next city clerk.
Angie, what will you do to improve the availability of information from the clerk's office?
We're always looking for ways to improve technology and streamline things to serve the citizens. So as new technology becomes available, that is what I'll be looking at.
What can parking control, our most favorite topic, what can parking control do to improve the quality of life in Fort Wayne, in your opinion?
One of the things that we have been studying and looking at there, and I would like to implement if I do become clerk, would be to pay with your smartphone technology. It is not cost effective to use charge cards. We have researched that. So one thing I would improve on would be the smart card pay with smartphones.
Well, Angie, since you're the only one here, we're going to give you a few minutes to talk about the office and why you feel you are the best candidate to run for city clerk for the city of Fort Wayne.
Sure, thank you. Like I said, I've been in there 30 plus years. I have the knowledge, the experience, and I'm dedicated to that office. I love working with the citizens of Fort Wayne. I have worked under 6 different administrations. We work very closely with the administration, so I know all the ins and outs with the office and with all the other city departments, and I believe that I am the best candidate to continue running that office as city clerk.
Is there anything else you'd like to add today?
I think public service runs in my family. My father served on the police department for over 20 years. My brother was a county sheriff for over 25 plus years, and I've got 30 years. I just love being in the civil service.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Could we have a round of applause? Angie Davis, running for city clerk. I'm going to take just a moment to introduce our moderators To my left is our Allen County Councilwoman, Sharon Tucker. Pastor Bill McGill had a funeral today and couldn't be here, but we want to thank him because he has been a part of the planning process for this forum. Pastor Christmon, who is also the Director of Multicultural Division at IDAAC. Mindy Walker, who is a member of the League of Women Voters, political science expert, and she has agreed to be here with us today. Would the two individuals who are running for the 1st District Council please be seated? Kenneth Richardson, Councilman Tom Schmidt.
While they're taking their place, we're going to go ahead and remind you that we are taking questions from the audience. We just ask that you please write them on a card and see the gentlemen. They will make sure that we get those questions so that we can give you the information that you need. We also want to introduce a moderator, Randy Schmidt. Randy's with the UAW and a dedicated member. All right. Just reminding you of the timekeeper that we have going on. You'll see I'll announce the time that you have to answer the question. You'll see the black paddle, which will let you know you have 15 seconds. The red paddle will let you know you have 5 seconds, and they'll stand and we'll ask that you please stop. All right? All right. In all fairness, we're drawing the questions out of a little jar here, so I have no idea what I'm getting ready to ask you. This question will be 60 seconds, timekeepers. 60 seconds. Candidates, the question is, with the removal of collective bargaining, what is your stance on the city workers having union bargaining rights, and how will you ensure the non-safety employees receive fair discipline? We'll start with you, Councilman Smith.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I'm glad I got a microphone that matched my jacket. I was one of the council members who eliminated collective bargaining for non-public safety employees, and I will stand with that decision. I support unions, but in the private sector, I think in the public sector, that is a time and day that has passed us by, and I think as far as I can tell, it's working very well. I keep checking with the administration. We have no complaints, formal complaints filed, and I trust the administration and Mayor Henry to treat all employees fairly.
Mr. Richardson.
Okay, everybody who works deserves respect for the job that they do. Collective bargaining is an issue that is kind of a double-edged sword for taxpayers. You know, anything that we permit under collective bargaining affects our pockets. I'm pleased with the decision that council made. I think that one of the things I'm very pleased with is that it opens discussion about the whole issue. The discussion needed to be had. We need to breach some of the issues that are plaguing all of us. You know, a small percentage of our population is affected by this decision, but it's something that does affect all of us and all of our pockets. So I'm pleased that the issue came up, and regardless of which side that you stand on, it's an issue that did create discussion, and that we're better off for that.
Thank you. Gentlemen, you can relax. You can sit. You don't have to stand if you would be more comfortable. All right. The next question. Timekeepers, this question should take 30 seconds. And the question is, should a business based on religious beliefs be able to deny service to a customer? Candidate Richardson, we'll start with you.
Well, I do support RFRA. I think that as long as it's uniformly upheld, it's not anything that's going to infringe upon our liberties. In fact, it just creates more liberty and freedom for us. I don't like the thought that people think it's going to be used for discriminatory purposes, and I hope that it's not, but I do support RFRA. I think that everybody has a right to believe what they believe, and pursue their life accordingly.
I have no objection if someone refuses service to someone. I think it's their right to do that. I don't think they should do that in a mean-spirited way, but I do believe in those personal rights for a businessman to say yes or no to people he chooses to serve, and that can be based on their religious beliefs. It's just sort of like, it's not quite the same level, but you know, if you don't wear shoes or a shirt, you can't get served. So people do make those choices, and I support businesses having the right to deny service.
Thank you. The next question. Timekeepers, this question will take 60 seconds. What are your professional qualifications for the office you seek? And what issues compel you to run for this office? Candidate Schmidt, we'll start with you. Office.
Well, first of all, I guess my qualifications are that I've been doing it for 16 years, and very happy and proud to be representing the people of the 1st District. The things that have qualified me, these are some of the things I've done over the years. I've been the chairman of the PTC board, that's public transportation. I served on the Plan Commission, the Mayor's Fiscal Policy Group. I helped create the city-county plan called Planet Allen. I worked on the City Council, County Council Co-location Task Force. Presently, I'm the chairman of the Hands Board. I serve on the Mayor's Opportunity Council, the Legacy Funding Committee, the Riverfront Advisory Committee, the Downtown Improvement District. Those are just some of the things that I have done and am doing that I believe highly qualify me to continue to be a great servant for the citizens of Fort Wayne and the 1st District.
Thank you. Candidate Richardson.
Well, as a district council person, we have dual roles. We have the obligation to protect and speak for our district, and we also have an obligation to represent city-wide interests. As a citizen or resident of the 1st District, I have a vested interest in making sure that the decisions that are made that affect 1st District are implemented in a way that benefit us in the 1st District. As a city council member, voting on city issues, I think that I'm a small business owner. I've been a realtor in the local community for 29 years. I know the challenges that small business face. I know how important small businesses are to the community and any community, and moderate-sized businesses as well. I'm not pleased with some of the tax implications that we face as a community, as all communities do, specifically in regard to some of the abatements that create disadvantages for small to medium-sized businesses. So that's one of the issues that I'm standing against, or in favor of, is revising the abatement programs.
Gentlemen, this will be your last question. I will give you 30 seconds to answer this question. I don't know how long it will be, but we were going to stay on time, and so here it is. 30 seconds. The question is, the city has a long history of promoting from within. What can the city do to promote growth and development of city employees?
Well,
Absolutely, go ahead.
Training. That is the best thing. That happened in real depth a few years ago under Mayor Graham Richard when he got into best teams and that sort of thing. And that has really proven well for the city. And I think we always have to have good, fair human resources policies for our employees. And I believe our city does that. You know, I have watched city government now for 16 years, and I'm always impressed at how much there isn't a lot of turnover,
Mr.
particularly
Richardson.
in people who have moved up into key positions.
Thank you, candidate. Mr. Richardson.
I think involvement and inclusion. We need to bring as many new faces and new ideas and new blood into city government. I think sometimes communities and governments have the ability to become stagnant because of the same presences, the same ideas, the same thoughts. And that's my suggestion. We need new faces, we need new ideas, we need new blood.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time. We appreciate you RSVPing and being a part of our forum. We know that candidates or that the voters are more informed and have had an opportunity to meet you. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you very much.
I want to remind all candidates, if you've just arrived, to please make sure that you've registered so that we know that you are here. And at this time, we're going to ask that the 2nd District candidates please take the podium, Michelle Hill and Michelle Merrit. We are taking questions from the audience. The only request that we have is that you write those questions down and provide them to our question runners for us, and we'll be sure to get those into the rotation of questions. I also think it helps just from observing that if you do sit and not hold the mic, if you sit and just put it up, I think it works a little bit better. I'm not lazy, but it's working pretty good for me, so. All right. Same format will follow. You'll have we'll tell you the seconds to open the question. You will see a black paddle, which will give you 15 seconds left. Red paddle will be 5 seconds. When the timekeeper stands, we ask that you please stop mid-sentence. And I will start with Miss Michelle Merrit. I have to go with last names because you guys have twin names, okay? Miss Merrit, candidate Merrit. First question. We will give you 1 minute to answer this question, 60 seconds, timekeepers. And the question is, what is your strategy to curb the increasing number of homicides and shootings being committed in the city?
Thank you for having me, by the way. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. You know, I think one of the key things we need to continue to do is support our civil servants in our police department and our sheriff's department. I think that not only is it a matter of having more feet on the street, but I also think it is a matter of good public education and good community members working directly with the police department. I was recently asked to be a part of the group that worked with the Public Safety Academy with the new police recruits as a community leader in helping educate new recruits on the existing neighborhoods and how they can become involved directly with citizens. I'm very proud of having done that, and I think it's a great way to increase public awareness, increase support for our public safety officials, and ultimately curb some of that problem.
Awesome. Candidate Hill.
Hello,
60
everybody.
seconds.
I would say that it is important for the public safety of the city to have a positive interaction with the city, between the citizens and between the public safety, police and such, that there should be interaction before there's an issue, as opposed, being on the streets, communicating with people and interacting with people before there's an issue of a problem, because they need to understand. Citizens need to understand that and feel for real that the public servants are there to help them, not to judge them based on where they're living or what's going on.
Thank you. The next question that we have, we're going to take from the audience, and this question reads as written. We will give 60 seconds to answer this question. Ms. Hill, I'll start with you first. And the question is, do you think our economic development plan to provide tax incentives is working? In light of offshoring by Vera Bradley, should their abatements be revoked?
I believe that their abatements should be revoked. I am against abatements. I believe that they are not working. I have been to several meetings where people are just saying, well, we're just here to retain jobs, and that's not what the abatements were for. I believe it's time to phase out the phase-ins and have a level playing field for all businesses that are looking into being in the city.
Ms. Merritt?
Repeat the question for me one more time, please.
Absolutely. The question is, as written, do you think our economic development plan to provide tax incentives is working? In light of offshoring by Vera Bradley, should their abatements be revoked?
I think like many plans, there's lots of opportunity for improvement. I do think that abatements need to be taken on a one-at-a-time sort of issue and looked at in a very individual case-by-case basis on what not only impacts the city as a whole, but also what impacts individuals to promote job growth and economic development for the city as a whole.
Thank you. We have another question from the audience. We'll go ahead and go with this question. And I'm going to give this one 30 seconds for answering. Ms. Merritt, we'll start with you, and the question reads, what is your opinion on local government purchasing policies that give preference to American-made products and material when using taxpayers' dollars?
I think we should be trying to use American-made products first. And I also think that we should be trying to use products that are developed right here locally if ever possible, along with services that are from local contractors and local developers whenever possible.
Thank you. Ms. Hill?
I think we definitely should be using American-made items. Helps keep jobs in America, and also as locally as possible is also great. We need to keep Americans working. We need to have Allen County and Fort Wayne City citizens working. So we definitely need to do that as much as possible.
Thank you. This will be the third question from the audience, and we are doing real good on time, so I'm going to go ahead and give you guys 60 seconds to answer this question. And I just want to thank all of those who are presenting questions for your wonderful handwriting. It makes it easier on us. All right, this question is specifically for 2nd District. What are your thoughts about strengthening the involvement of residents in neighborhoods? And we will start with you, Ms. Hill.
Thank you. We definitely need to work with our neighborhoods. I believe that outside of downtown has been neglected, and we need to listen to the voices of the district because they're interested in their own district, not just the downtown area, and think we can work together and be as accessible as possible to those neighborhoods and those citizens within those neighborhoods.
Thank you. Ms. Merritt?
You know, I'm out and about a lot in the 2nd District, and I talk with a lot of business owners and a lot of individuals that live specifically in my neighborhood, which is what we affectionately call the 05, which is always, of course, competition with the 07. But, you know, people want to get involved in the district. They want to get involved no matter if they're down at Lakeside Park or they're up in Pine Valley. They want to be involved, and they're becoming more and more involved in their neighborhood associations. They're excited about what's happening downtown because it only goes to improve the collar neighborhoods, those surrounding neighborhoods that are here to be a great place for people to live and have easy access to downtown Fort Wayne, to the riverfront development that's happening. These are great communities to live in, and the 2nd District in particular provides great opportunity, and people are excited, and they're already starting to band together, and we're going to continue to support that.
Thank you. This will be the last question, candidates, and I will give you 60 seconds to answer this question. I'm also going to ask the next moderators to prepare themselves to transition into place, and the question will go to you, Ms. Merritt, first to answer with 60 seconds, and it reads, drawing from the box, should a business based on religious beliefs be able to deny service to customers?
My short answer to that is no. My extended response, thank you, would certainly be that a person's individual religious practice as a business owner should never trump someone's civil rights.
Thank you. Ms. Hill?
I would also say no, because they need to have, it's completely separate. Once you are a business owner, that is a business, not an individual. So your individual personal beliefs should not be interfering with your business practices. I believe that they are, it just gives an ability to discriminate, and basically I feel that in the end, people are going to have word of mouth and let people know that they are discriminating, and the free market will take over.
Thank you. Candidates, I appreciate your participation and your RSVPing to be a part of this event. IDAAC thanks you very much for being here with us today.
Hello, everyone. I want to, first of all, thank IDAAC, the Indiana Democratic African American Committee, for holding what is a bipartisan forum. Thank you very much for that. And thank you to all of the candidates showing up here today. 30 seconds or 60 seconds may not seem like a long time to respond, but you're all going to be dealing with the press, and sometimes they'll give you less than that. But thank you all for coming here. We appreciate it. Everybody's been here to listen pretty much to what's going on, but we have timekeepers up here. We're going to be, the pastor and I are going to grab these questions out of here, and they'll raise a black paddle when you've got 15 seconds, and then they'll turn around. The other color, red color, will mean they got 5, and they're going to stand up. They'll stand up when you're done, and we'll enforce that. So you're going to get probably 30, depending on the question, 30 or 60 seconds, and we'll announce it. This is for the 3rd District of Fort Wayne Council, and it is for Tom Didier and Mark Stafford. And are they here? Either one? Well, I guess we'll move on. Okay, we'll go to 4th District. While they're setting up, I also want to thank IDAAC for inviting me to be a moderator. I represent organized labor today, and I appreciate to have somebody represent working people here as part of this process. Thank you very much. Okay, our candidates for the 4th District are Matthew Sorg and Rusty York, and I'm going to turn this over to the pastor, and you can grab the first question.
All right, and I too want to add my congratulations to IDAAC and welcome everybody, not only as a pastor, but also as a lead administrator at IPFW. So welcome to our candidates again. And we'll start off with this question, and Rusty York, I'll start with you. With the elimination of collective bargaining, do you think that there are human resource policies that need to be changed to ensure that city workers, parenthetically, fire and police, are treated more fairly?
Well, number one, if I'm elected,
And 60 seconds.
thank you. No, can everybody hear me okay? Number one, if I'm elected, I will sponsor and vote for an ordinance to reinstitute collective bargaining for the city of Fort Wayne. And I also feel, as far as police, fire, they do have collective bargaining agreements with the city of Fort Wayne, and I also support the continuation of those.
All right, and Mr. Sorg, for you, would you like me to repeat the question, or you?
For collective bargaining, I do not support public sector. For collective bargaining, I do not support public sector unions. Basically, I believe it's an inherent conflict of interest to give campaign funds to your potential boss. Basically saying, give us more money, we'll give you money situation. I believe the city has set up a fair grievance process, which I know is fairly new, for city employees, which they have more rights than most private sector employees do, and they...
Try and get a little closer to the mic.
I believe city employees have a fair grievance process, which I know is fairly new in its structure, and they have the city council and the mayor on their side, and both of them always want to have a highly productive city or city employees so they can work for the city.
All right, and we thank you for that answer. And just a reminder that black on the hand signal is 15 seconds, red is 5 seconds, and then our timekeepers, when they stand, time is up. For the second question, I'll come back to you, Mr. Sorg. When do party lines become harmful in city politics?
Party lines become harmful.
60 seconds, I'm sorry, I'll get there.
Party lines become harmful when you ignore what you're going into office for, is to serve the people, because it's like anybody who just sticks by a party opinion and doesn't have a personal conviction is being blinded by power, pretty much. It's like, you've got to look at what's in the best interest of the people for the city. Plain and simple, because it's like, it's not always a matter of what my party thinks, it's a matter of how does this affect the individual citizen.
All right, Mr. York?
Well, we don't have to look far to see how party lines become harmful. We look at our state legislature, and we look at Congress, and we can see how that becomes harmful. I think, personally, I would bring balance to Fort Wayne City Council, because over my career, I've worked very well with elected officials, both in the city, in the county, and both political parties. I think that's important to get things done at a city council level, to be able to work collaboratively to get those done. I would do that.
IDAAC came up with quite a few questions, but we're also trying to get the questions that you folks decided upon, because you're the voters. So this is one that's been asked before. It came from the audience. This will be 60 seconds. Do you think our economic development plan to provide tax incentives is working? And in light of offshoring by Vera Bradley, should their abatements be revoked?
I do not believe in the notion of going back on a promise to a company. Now, if the company broke an agreement with the city for the specific plant or location, the city has the right to revoke that, because the company basically lied to them when they gave them the abatement. Now, tax incentives, the city could do more to encourage startups and do-it-yourself or entrepreneurs, whether it's like somebody who's trying to start their own painting company or whatever you want to call it, just those grassroots businesses that create more jobs than larger businesses do, and you can create more ownership in the city that way instead of relying on large corporations.
Rusty?
Well, I am for tax abatements, because I think that helps keep our city vibrant, brings jobs, brings new business. I think that's important for our community. I was very disappointed that Vera Bradley went offshore. And I think, though, that we have to evaluate how that would impact our workers locally if we would renege on that agreement. So I think we have to be very careful, though, in the future to put those conditions in place when we agree to these tax abatements.
All right, and this question is 60 seconds, and we'll start with you, Mr. York. What can local government do to assist public schools while state funding is being cut to the detriment of public schools, providing a public education for all students?
Well, number one, I think as a city council person, I would lobby our state legislature stronger to give us the appropriate share of revenues, because I personally have been involved with meetings over the last 2 months with Fort Wayne Community Schools, trying to determine how we're going to get our children safely back and forth to school. That's a serious issue. We have to do all we can, and I know the mayor is committed to, whether it's more crossing guards at intersections, more sidewalks, again, more police officers in the areas when schools going in or letting out. We need to do that. We also have our school resource officers at all the schools, all the middle schools now, not all the middle schools, but 6 middle schools, to make sure our kids are safe at school.
Mr. Sorg, 60 seconds as well.
The easiest thing the city can do to help local schools is make sure whenever they're using TIF districts, that those are used sparingly, because anytime you create a TIF district, you're basically taking money away from the other government agencies in the county, and which includes the schools. And until that TIF district expires, the schools don't have that money, which is one of the reasons why they recently created a law about public transportation and allowing the city to give that money back from the TIF district to the schools and the public transportation thing for stuff like busing.
All right, and we're going to give you 60 seconds for this question. The first part is yes or no, and then it asks for some detail. Mr. Sorg, we'll start with you. Is Fort Wayne prepared for a major disaster? A. And B, answering as specifically as possible, how could we be better prepared if not?
I believe some of our yes, I believe we are prepared for a major disaster. I believe our public safety employees train very well for this scenario. My opponent would know more about that than me, obviously. And it's like, we spend a great deal of money on firefighters and police officers in this city to make sure they're well trained and they do have proper equipment.
Mr. York?
I can emphatically say yes, we are prepared. And I can say that because we've worked very hard since really 9/11 to work with our federal partners. Right now we've got officers assigned to every federal agency in the city of Fort Wayne to work not only towards reducing crime, but also to look at terrorist issues. And right now a big issue is the oil tankers that go through the city of Fort Wayne on a regular basis, increasingly. And what we've done is we've worked with Norfolk and Southern, we've worked with the federal government, we've worked with Bernie Beyer, our Homeland Security Director. We've sent our fire department to specialized training to make sure that if we do have a disaster involving, whether it's a natural disaster or it's a tanker fire, that we're adequately prepared to address that situation.
I want to remind everybody that there is food and drink over there. Please partake of it. We have some great volunteers that work to get that set up for you. So. All right, our next question, this is going to be another 60 seconds. City Council plays a major role in how land is zoned and used. How much will you rely on input from planning staff, and how much will you rely on residents when making decisions on how land should be used? Matthew, Sorg, go ahead.
When it comes to the way land is used, you have to know what public opinion is on that. It's like planning staff is just an arm of serving the public opinion upon how they want things done. Because if there's an outcry on something and the public really does not want some sort of business or whatnot, it's like city has an obligation within the legal limits of the law to at least respect the public's opinion, not just say, hey, they're investing, we don't care what it is, because there's certain sectors of zoning things where certain businesses are not in the public's best interest, whether they're selling drug paraphernalia type stuff, where it's like, it may not be drugs, but we don't need no 420 stores in Fort Wayne and other adult-oriented businesses.
Mr. York.
Well, I think this is definitely a balance between city planning, strategic planning, and basically communicating with the residents. I think the city currently does an exceptional job of talking to residents where developments are to take place that planners are supporting. I think we've seen that in our riverfront development, that we get the community involved, not sell them on the idea but collaborate with them in our planning. And I think that's essential going forward to get buy-in from the residents, but provide them the information they need about whatever project you're interested in.
We're doing well on time, so again, we want to encourage you, if you'd like to write a question down, we have card carriers here who will come and have you write these questions. And Mr. York, I'm going to come back to you. This is going to be a 60-second question. What have you done in Fort Wayne that demonstrates your commitment to diverse communities in Fort Wayne prior to this date?
Well, as chief of police, I've worked very hard. I came in at a tough time, basically, in 2000, when we were being investigated by the Department of Justice for unfair treatment of especially young African-American men in our community. So since becoming chief, I worked very hard to open lines of dialogue, not only with our leadership and our citizens in the African-American community, but also the Hispanic community, the Burmese community. I think it takes work. Are we there? But I think we've built the trust between the Fort Wayne Police Department and the community, and I think that's shown in how more and more people are coming forward and helping our investigators, our police officers, solve violent crime.
All right, thank you, Mr. York. Mr. Sorg?
Okay, can you repeat the question?
Certainly. What have you done in Fort Wayne that demonstrates your commitment to diverse communities prior to this date?
Granted, I am a lot younger than my opponent, which leaves me limited history on what I've actually done, because it's like some of the things I've done, it's like I've bought in old houses in West Central. I bought an old house in West Central, fixed that up, provided a quality place to live for all sorts of people, black, white, Hispanic, whatnot. It's like some of the greatest things happening in our city now are some of the cultural things, because it's like we even have a salsa club in town, and it's like that's the most diverse group of people I've ever seen in town in terms of nationalities and personality types.
All right. We want to thank both of you. Let's thank our candidates for being here today, Mr. Sorg and Mr. York. And I think if we have everything correct, May, we want to take a 5-minute break after this next one, so be prepared for a break. We also want to remind you that we have refreshments to the far side as well. And also want to ask you to give thanks again to our timekeepers. They're doing an excellent job today and keeping us on track as well.
All right, next up is Geoff Paddock, 5th District. He is unopposed, and we're running a little ahead of schedule. And I guess because you're unopposed today, I can address you as Councilman Paddock.
Geoff will be fine, thank you.
Instead of just candidate. All right, here's your first question. If I can read this. This is specifically for you from the audience. The widening of Ardmore created a major traffic hazard at North Washington Road. How do we, as a neighborhood, maintain the integrity of this historic neighborhood? And you have 60 seconds.
Well, that's an interesting question, and I guess since I live right there and my backyard is adjacent to Ardmore, this project went forward long before I was elected to office, but I've certainly been personally affected by it. And I'd have to say that this reminds me a little bit of some of the projects that we've seen in the past that have been a little bit controversial, but I really do salute the city and the administration for making probably the best of a situation that some of the neighbors were a little bit nervous about. I think that we need to get in there and maybe do a little tweaking of that. Certainly a little landscaping is a little bit weak, and there is some concern about the egress onto Ardmore Avenue. But one of the things that was designed in this project is that the integrity of the neighborhood would be kept intact, because that's important. It has historical designation. and folks have lived there for over 100 years. So I think the city did a pretty good job, and we'd want to take a look at seeing perhaps if we can make some improvements, particularly with landscaping.
Thank you, Jeff. Here's a repeat question that we've asked some of the others. With the removal of collective bargaining, what is your stance on the city workers having union bargaining rights, and how will you ensure that non-safety employees receive fair discipline? And again, you have 60 seconds.
Well, thank you. I'll try to answer that briefly. And I'm proud to be one of the 3 council members, along with Glenn Hynes and John Schoaf, who worked with Mayor Henry to try to fight the proposals that came forward that ultimately passed by a 6-3 vote. I also worked with Councilman, thank you. I also worked with Mayor Henry and Councilman Hynes and Councilman Schoaf, who sponsored a measure to introduce a grievance procedure for those unions that were affected by this legislation. Unfortunately, that did not come forward here in the last few weeks. So we want to continue to look at that. We're very concerned about some of the things that we're hearing, and we want to make sure that all of our employees are treated fairly. But I can't see that happening until we reinstate some of the rights that we've taken away. And I've said that. I said that on the dais there at the City Council, that I would like to see us move forward, particularly in this next session next year, to reinstating collective bargaining, but we need the votes to do that.
We do have our timekeepers. We do have our timekeepers, but because there's no opponent here, as long as Pastor Christmon and myself, if you take a question you want to go a little longer, go ahead.
And may I weigh in on the tax phase-in, tax abatement? Maybe at the end. I don't want to interrupt your flow.
We were just told by the boss no.
The boss says no. So anybody that wants to hear about my position on that, see me afterwards.
All right, Mr. Paddock, let me ask you this, and I'm sure that you'd probably like several minutes to ask, but let me get your 30-second soundbite on this one. Do you believe that communication between city and county officials needs to improve? And if so, what would you do?
Well, that's a good question, and I'd like to say I think thanks largely to Tom Henry and, frankly, the other side of the aisle. We've made a lot of improvements over the last few years. I can remember a time, and I see faces in the audience that can attest to this, when the city and the county didn't even speak to one another, let alone even if we were in the same party. And I think we've broken the ice quite a bit with the mayor's leadership and, frankly, the bipartisanship, other than collective bargaining, the bipartisanship that we have shown in many respects on the city council. I see some of my Republican friends here, and I want to thank them for being bipartisan. We've worked together across party lines to accomplish a lot, not only on the city side, but on the county side. We looked at our planning ordinances and our zoning ordinances. We've aligned those. The tax phase-ins, we actually aligned those. I worked on a committee with the city and the county to put tougher sanctions in there and to make sure we don't have a Vera Bradley. By the way, the Vera Bradley issue is a county issue, not a city issue. And I voted with a number of individuals to take tax phase-ins away for those who didn't meet the tougher standards that we put in. So I have a pretty good record on that. Can we do more? Obviously we can, but I will also say that thanks to Mayor Henry, my friends on a bipartisan basis on the city council, because the vote was 9-0, and our friends on the county council and our county commissioners support my efforts to bring passenger rail service back to Fort Wayne, and we appropriated together some funds that will be put forward to a Tier 1 environmental impact study. So we are making strides in that direction. We want to work more on the tax phase-in issue, and certainly with more zoning and planning issues, as you mentioned before. I think we've made great strides, and you need folks that I think are centrist, who are middle of the road, who are moderate, that work with both sides. I like to pride myself on that, and so that's one reason I'd like to stay on city council.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken.
We're going to ask our last question, and it's a very good question, and I'm going to ask it this way. there's a statement that the city has a long history of promoting employees from within. What can the city do to promote, or what would you do to build an equity plan for the city of Fort Wayne's hiring?
Well, like I say, one of the things that I think I would do along that path is try to reinstate collective bargaining that helps our existing employees that were shortchanged in that process. But I think we need to continue to do more outreach. We need to look at where we can find more diversity. We asked about diversity in Fort Wayne and what your role in that has been. Look at the event schedule at Headwaters Park. My day job here, I think you'll see a lot of diversity there. That's the experience I bring in running that venue. But I think we need to do more as far as outreach. I know that Mayor Henry, Safety Director York, our fire chief, our police chief have been more active than I've ever seen in city government recruiting those folks. We just put another class through in the fire department and another class that I think graduates from the police academy here at the end of May. And that is a diverse group. So we are improving. Obviously, it's outreach, it's reaching out to the community, it's having forums like this that I think are helpful, and not only within the system but outside. I take pride in trying to get around to neighborhood associations and events in my district where I hear from folks that I can pass many of those suggestions along. So I'm getting the signal again.
Thank you. We're moving right along, but we got a bunch of candidates that are going to run for at-large and mayor, so.
Thank you very much, IDAAC and all of you for sponsoring this and allowing me to be here, and thank you all for participating. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Okay. Are we ready?
Ready when you are.
All right.
Mic check, 1, 2.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. 6th District Council seat, Glenn Hynes, Joe Renner, and Robert Wofford. And this is a question from the audience. Interesting. As some of the downtown improvements have begun, an area around the library where the homeless used to gather is now gone. As further areas grow around the river, are there any thoughts as to where these people will end up? And you have 60 seconds to address this question.
Well, I've been an advocate for the homeless for many years. I'm a supporter of Housing First. I think the city spends way too much money on corporate welfare and way too little on the people that they're supposed to represent. And I think they've proven that with the collective bargaining vote, don't you?
All right, Councilman Hynes.
Thank you. Obviously, positive development is a good thing. And one of the things that's happened downtown visibly is positive development with Parkview and now the Ash Center, and even when we did the expansion of the Grand Wayne. And I think what we're requiring is that some of the social services need additional support. I think the rescue mission and Reverend Donovan is doing a great job in providing services for those who find themselves homeless and choose not to be homeless. And I think that the Vincent House and other facilities in our community are providing those kinds of services that are needed by those who are homeless. But I do believe that we must continue positive growth, not only downtown, but throughout the entire community, especially here in the 6th District.
Mr. Walker.
Good morning, or good afternoon, rather. I believe there...
Yeah, I'm going to make a recommendation that you guys put your microphones in the holders and then bring them close to you, because our master electrician over here, Mr. Bynum, has got little volume controls he keeps playing with back and forth, and that's how come we're getting the feedback to howling. So put them in the holders and move them close to you and try and speak directly into the microphone. All right, 1 minute starting now.
I believe that we have enough empty homes and houses in the city that we could rehabilitate those homes and houses and make those available to people that are homeless with us overseeing it.
Thank you very much. Here's a second question, also from the audience. What are your views and any plans, if any, on the city's position in the region? And it's basically two areas that they're concerned with: economic development and growth in general. So economic development and growth. What are your just general thoughts on that? And you have 1 minute.
Well, economic development obviously is very important. I think we need to focus a little less on downtown and focus a little bit more on the outlying areas of Fort Wayne. I think Fort Wayne can become a leader in doing that. These economic incentives need to be used more in the outlying areas for small businesses. These large corporations getting all these tax abatements is, in my opinion, just another name for corporate welfare.
In my position, over the 16 years, we've supported economic development growth throughout the community. I think you have to be concerned with two things. One is attraction of new businesses so that companies like Franklin Electric, General Mills, those companies want to come to your community. And then you want to look at retention. You want to make sure that those companies that are currently here, like the Base Systems of the world and Lincoln Lights of the world, want to stay here. And you have to make sure you do have those incentives that not only attract new businesses, but also, just as importantly, retain those businesses that are currently here.
I want to say this. Someone asked me, why are you running at this late date being diplomatic? This is not my first time considering running for city council. When Mr. Steer retired and Cletus Edmonds stepped up, I was going to run at that time. Cletus and I were the best of friends. We worked for Harvester. We played chess together. And I wasn't going to run against Cletus. Harvester closed and I moved to Montgomery, Alabama for 11 years. So I had thought about council seat before. Now to get back to the question, I had some concerns about the 6th district. My time to No. I'm sorry. I had some concerns about the 6th district. And I wanted to know if my concerns were the community concerns. So I went out and I canvassed people on the streets. I went to the bowling lanes. I called people on the phone.
We're going to need to stop you there. I apologize. We're going to stick to the time. What I would ask is that if that mic is having issues, if you would switch mics maybe at some time between the two. Let's just get
Mic check. Mic check. It's on and off.
So you may have to share one. Again, we want to remind you to zero in on the question. These questions have been carefully crafted. We'll give you a time allotment again. When you see the black panel from our wonderful timekeepers, that means you have 15 seconds. When you see the red panel, that means you have 5. And when they stand up, the party's over. We're going to the next question. And so I'd like to ask this one, and Mr. Hynes, I'm going to start with you and ask if you'll go first, and Mr. Wofford, and then we'll come back. And that is, what will you do to give the residents an opportunity to tell you of their concerns and their issues about their neighborhood?
Well, over the 16 years, what I have done to give the residents input has been to hold the State of the 6th District every year, the 3rd Saturday, and that was based on Cletus Edmonds 10 years prior doing it, and I've done it 16 years since, so that we have an opportunity to look at all those projects. All the department heads, the mayor included, are here to answer questions. This facility was developed by citizen input. We had charrettes that we held across the hallway, and we talked 3 years ago about what would happen to this facility. And the citizens came to those meetings, and we did a brainstorming. We talked about what did we want to have in this building. And I think you will find this is probably one of the better facilities in our community, and this was an example of community input.
What I plan to do is develop a website, get a post office box, I have a cell phone dedicated to the 6th district, and also have monthly meetings with the community. Because that's one thing that Cletus did. He was constantly in the community, he was constantly in the schools, and I want to follow up on that theme. Thank you.
Mr. Renner?
Well, to be honest, the reason I ran to begin with is because council has been completely unresponsive. I've been going to city council now for many, many years, and I've brought my concerns to them, and all I've gotten was blank stares. I don't feel as if they've been representative. I've seen countless number of citizens approach council, and they were completely, if not completely, ignored. What I plan to do is I plan to be responsive. If somebody wants my email address, I'll give them my email address. I'll give them my cell phone number. I don't mind. If someone has a concern, come to me. I want to be the advocate. I want to be the public servant that our district needs. Says currently, well, we just don't have one.
And this here is a critical question amongst all of them. Mr. Walford, I'm going to start with you. Very plainly it is, what would you do to provide safe havens for our youth in the 6th District?
Safe haven for the district. This facility is an example of how it could be used, and we should put forth every effort for the schools and the parents to let them know that we are here to serve their needs. I think we need to communicate better, and the way to do that is through the schools. Get the biggest input from that.
Great question. I think, again, related back to this facility here, this is a safe haven. And the reason why the citizens, when we met and we discussed about having additional utilization of this facility, particularly for young people, was to provide them after-school tutoring, recreational opportunities, and of course, we have Wi-Fi in this building, which provides an opportunity for them to access the internet to do their homework. So I think this is an example of what I've done to provide safe havens. And also, I take issue with the opponent who says that we're not available. All of us, all elected officials, have the email, have cell phones, and it's available not only on the city website, but throughout the community. So we're easily accessible, and we do respond. And then every Tuesday night, as some people have utilized the opportunity to come before council and to share their views, and we've had that. But not only this facility, but also Fellowship Missionary Church in the district, as well as a few other churches, Ewell Wilson Center, Weiser Park, have utilized safe havens for youth. Thank you.
Well, having a building is just the first step. What we need is a solid plan. For instance, this past winter, we've had so many days where temperatures are down below freezing, and the warming centers weren't open. It took the outcry of many, many citizens calling the mayor's office, calling council members to get these warming stations open. We need a protocol. If the temperatures drop down below 32 degrees, these buildings will automatically open up as warming shelters. Currently, there is no safe haven for these people that have no place to go.
Thank you. Because we're in a couple of minutes here, we're going to be looking at the council at large, and we have a dozen candidates. I don't know how many will show, but we're going to make this, I think, be our last question for the 6th District. And because of that, I'm only going to give you 30 seconds for this one. This is from the audience. What are some things that you're going to do to help young people be successful in the city? You each have 30 seconds, and we'll start with Mr. Wofford again and work my way.
That's an excellent question. Having worked in 4 A community schools for 11 years, I have a plan already in mind for elementary school, middle school, and high school. And I think going through the schools, we will be successful.
Thank you for that question. As an educator teaching in New Haven High School every day of the week, I get an opportunity to impact the lives, particularly of juniors and seniors that are in the Jobs for America's Graduates Program, JAG. But again, I relate back to this facility because we're having this forum here. Not only is it just a building, but actually Andre Patterson, who's standing in the back of the room, is the director of this facility, and we provide tutoring every day to those young people, and it's really critically important to have other additional facilities which are Wi-Fi enabled so that they can access the internet to do their homework.
I almost thought I was going to have 2 mics there for a second. Well, if you want to empower youth, you need to offer them opportunities for education. You need to offer them opportunities for employment. I think what would go a long way to doing that is offering a community-wide Wi-Fi. Currently, you can get Wi-Fi downtown, or if you happen to be lucky enough to live close to a McDonald's, whatnot. But really, that's what we need, is community-wide Wi-Fi. Children can go to school online. They can increase their opportunities to look for jobs online. I don't know how many internet jobs are out there available, but I know there's many.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. And we'll move on.
Thank you for all of those who are here today. We do appreciate you being here. We think informed voters are good voters and voters that will share the information. But more than anything, it's important that we make sure that we get our family members and everyone that we come in contact with out to the poll. Let's reverse the stigma of having a low voter turnout. Awesome. All right, let's set a couple of ground rules, okay? Because there are quite a few of you. Quite a few of you. It's a good thing that we are a little bit ahead of schedule, but we want to stay that way. So all of the candidates that are on the right side of Michelle Chambers, candidate Chambers, wave your hand. All of the candidates on the right side, you'll be using the timekeeper to your side. All of the candidates on the left side will be using the timekeeper on the left side. Please, please, please be respectful of the timekeepers. We will announce the time that you have. Your questions will either be 15 seconds or 30 seconds. There are so many of you that we can't use 12 minutes on one question. Okay, so you will have 15 seconds or 30 seconds. You have some paper and pencil in front of you if you want to write down the question or prepare your answer. We will stay in the same format that we've had before with all the other candidates. You will see the red paddle when you have 5 seconds left, and we will stand up when you are done. And please don't make me cut you off. Just cut yourselves off, amen? All right, so we okay with the ground rules? We all set candidates. You guys look so nice. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. And Mindy.
Yes. Thank you. And we also want to remind you that we're taking questions from the audience. If you have a question to submit, please look for one of the runners. Submit your question on an index card. It will be brought to the front. Question 1, we'll begin with candidate Anderson. What do you think, yes, and this will be a 30-second question. What do you think is the most important issue facing the city in the next 2 years?
I think the most important issue facing the city, we have seen some wonderful development economically in our community, the revitalization of the downtown. I think we need to focus at least as much attention on human development, on developing quality of life in our neighborhoods. I'm trying to follow the rules, of developing significant quality of life in our neighborhoods that really mirrors the wonderful development that we have had in our downtown area.
Candidate Avila.
I think the important issue that's facing Fort Wayne over the next 2 years is funding public safety and making sure we have the tools for the fire and police department to be able to do their job, and also to be able to pay wages and benefits, and to be able to attract new employees that will protect the citizens of Fort Wayne.
Candidate Brown.
Legacy funds, not more so spending the funds, but investing the funds, in mutual funds.
Thank you. Candidate Burgess.
Jobs, 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 and more jobs. That should be the priority for the next 2 years, not only in attracting new jobs, but in retaining current jobs. I'm for phasing out the phase-ins. I'm for improving our economic development. I'm for more monies going to our neighborhoods and less monies going to downtown. Thank you.
Candidate Chambers.
That we continue to bring in viable businesses that are paying a living wage, that we have a local hire initiative with all the growth that we have going on in the city, and that the growth is spread out equally throughout the 4 quadrants.
Thank you. Candidate Cross.
Thank you. Are we here? The equal distribution of opportunity, including funds, educational driven programs, and economic development throughout the city in the next 2 years, but I'm a very good multitasker. So I would also suggest the expansion or application to expand our enterprise zones to encourage micro businesses to buddy up and share.
Thank you,
buildings.
candidate.
Thank you. Move on to candidate Osborne.
Thank you for the opportunity. Jobs is something we definitely have to look at. We have to look at good paying jobs. We have to move this community in a way where we bring up every single neighborhood equally, and we have to stay focused on core services as we continue to develop the downtown area.
Thank you. Candidate Bradley.
Thank you. I think we need to concentrate on getting more high-paying jobs or livable wage jobs, along with, economic development in our downtown area, revitalization of our whole south side end of town and southeast area of town.
Thank you. And finally, candidate Crawford.
Basically, we need to keep on working and making Fort Wayne a better quality place that people want to live in and come here to work and play. We're going to spend probably a great deal of the next council term working on riverfront development, and that's to make Fort Wayne attractive to young people and businesses to come here.
Actually, Councilman, you can take that off. I'm going to give you guys some suggestions for the microphones. If you take them off the stand and then just pass them down, that'll eliminate some of the extra bass that we get from them hitting the table. The only requirement is that you speak directly into the microphone. Buddy up to it. It won't bite you, I promise you. Go right into it, and then we'll be able to hear it from there, and just pass it accordingly, okay? I think that'll eliminate our mic issues with the number that we have. The next question comes directly from the audience. We're going to give you 30 seconds, timekeepers, to answer this question. 30 seconds to answer it, and it speaks to RFRA. And the question as it is written reads, where do you stand on equal rights for those individuals who identify as LGBTQ? I guess I gotta start somewhere. Let's start in the middle with Kathy Cross.
I support equal rights for every citizen in America, and that includes the city of Fort Wayne. I think we've been segmented enough, and it's time to include all. Thank you.
I actually support the rights of everybody. Being a union rep for over 30 years, my job has actually been to represent all people fairly. And that will be one of my goals, to make sure everybody's voice is heard and represented well.
I think when we were created by our good Lord, we all were created equal. And that's where I stand. Everybody's equal.
Way back years ago, when Councilman Henry was a councilman, he introduced an ordinance to add sexual orientation to our metro discrimination law. I was the only Republican to vote for that because I'm strongly for treating everybody the same. I think the legislature this year committed political malpractice, and basically everyone should be treated the same.
We'll return back to the middle and start with Ms. Chambers.
I support equal rights for all people. As a business owner, I welcome everyone into both of my businesses.
Gina.
I support equal rights for everybody, and in support of that, one of the things I would work for in light of RFRA is to review our current city ordinances. Sexual orientation is currently covered under our discrimination clauses. However, there's a special clause that takes the teeth out of the enforcement of that based on sexual orientation. So I think we need to be looking at that and making some corrections in light of what happened down in Indianapolis. Thank you.
Needless to say, I'm always for equal rights. We're all created equal. And with that being said, why should there be any discrimination for any reason that results?
I support equal rights for everyone. I say no discrimination anywhere. And when that law got passed, I was happy to see so many people come out and support a group that felt that it was going to be discriminatory towards them, and they were able to get something done about it. So I was very happy to see that.
As a Christian minister, there is nothing in my faith tradition, nothing in any of the other faith traditions that make up our wonderful community that speak for discrimination. Our faith traditions talk about loving one another, they talk about respecting one another, they talk about treating others as we want to be treated. The recent legislation in Indianapolis is not a reflection of religious belief. It's a thinly veiled attempt to discriminate. And when we start discriminating against one group of people, we need to be very careful about others.
Okay. Thank you, candidates. We'll remind you to speak closely to the mic. This is your opportunity to be heard. So, technology aside, we'll have to work with it. This question comes directly from the audience. I'll read it as is. We'll begin with candidate Burgess, going from left and then starting with Ms. Chambers down the line. This is read as direct. I am new to the area, but last fall I saw on the news that a tent city for the homeless was removed by city officials. What will you do to help the homeless in Fort Wayne? This is a 30-second question.
Thank you. One of the things I think we need to do is introduce a homeless bill of rights to take care of some of these issues. Currently, our current city ordinance has provisions that prohibit sleeping in the parks. There's also some other current provisions that are anti-homeless. So we need to work on some reformation, and then we also need to work on a bill of rights to make sure that everybody is protected. You know, we just talked about how we need to be fair with regards to sexual orientation. We also need to be fair with regards to housing and lack thereof. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Brown.
Well, anytime that you drive around the community here on the southeast end, you'll see vacant houses. And I think it's up to the city council to look at these vacant houses and begin to set some type of program available at a decreased cost to provide housing for some of the homeless individuals in our community.
Thank you. Candidate Avila. Sorry.
Thank you. When that situation happened, it opened up my eyes to a situation that I wasn't as aware of as I should have been. I think that in the future it is going to help churches, the rescue mission, the city of Fort Wayne work to make sure that those situations are taken care of in the best possible way, and that in the future the folks that have lived in that type of a situation hopefully end up with jobs and homes, because that's how you empower them. Thank you.
Candidate Anderson.
As the executive director of an agency that serves homeless families, I'm deeply committed to this issue. Homelessness should not be a criminal act. I want to point out we have made some significant strides in this community in the last year in serving those who are homeless in our community. Things that have happened that have not happened in the past. Mayor Henry has recently convened a task force so that we can do better planning in this area in the future. I am very supportive of that. No one in Fort Wayne needs to be homeless or hungry. We have the resources to deal with this issue.
Thank you. We'll move to Candidate Chambers.
I echo the same thing that Terry just said. No one here has to be homeless or hungry. We really need to build upon the existing infrastructure that we have and the social agencies that are providing services to the homeless, making sure that they have the ability to deal with the mental health issues that come along with our homeless population, making sure that we can re-enter them into society to get viable jobs where they don't have to be homeless, and make sure that we have in place transitional housing for the homeless.
Candidate Cross.
I think much like the project at Renaissance Point, the city could very much donate some land to the social service organizations that can build upon it. allow social services, but we're creating problems by requiring an alcohol or drug addiction program for them to go through, when in fact many of our homeless are neither alcoholic nor drug addicts. So in order for them to get a service, we create drug addicts and alcoholics in order for them to obtain services, and I'd really like to take a closer look.
Candidate Osborne.
I think that's one of the greatest questions that we're faced with right now. It's a challenge. I've spent a lot of time in the rescue mission, spent a lot of time at the Kara's house, spent a lot of time at the Salvation Army trying to work with them to ask questions on how do we deal with this. And one of the changes that I'm looking at with the rescue mission right now is not spare change, real change. So I'm hoping to do some things that can actually create real change for the people out on the streets.
Candidate Bradley.
Homelessness is not unique to Fort Wayne. It's all over the country. I've done some research on that, and Boston has a program that they use, and it's through HUD. It's called the Housing First Program, and that's something we should look into here. I feel very strongly that no person, family or otherwise, should sleep under a bridge or in a tent. We're far too advanced for that.
And thank you, Candidate Crawford.
Fort Wayne's already doing a fair amount for homeless, but we need to do more. The rescue mission has excellent programs, not only to try to fix the problems that people have, give them skills, but also reintegrate them into society. Rescue mission is woefully inadequate in space and resources. As part of riverfront development, I would hope we'd be able to maybe purchase their land, give them seed money to double their size.
All right, thank you for your answers. Has everyone had an opportunity to answer the question? Did we miss someone? We covered everyone, awesome. We're gonna ask that the audience, if you would, please make sure to come on in, have a seat, so that we don't distract our candidates. They are on a limited time, and so we wanna make sure that they stay focused and get an opportunity to share the information that they have for us. This question comes from the audience. I'm only going to give you 15 seconds to answer this one, so you'll need to be direct and concise on what you're saying. And the question reads as 15 seconds. I'm going to start with Candidate Brown. So we'll give the microphone time to make it to him. And the question is, what are some things you are going to do to advance downtown? 15 seconds, and you start now.
What I am going to do personally, well, needless to say, that's a 9-member board that you have to have the social skills and the communicative skills to get something done. I like to keep going in the direction that we are currently going.
Thank you. Concise and to the point. Candidate Avila.
I am going to help tap into every fund and funding source available to move forward to the riverfront development. I think that is going to be a big attraction to downtown Fort Wayne, and it's going to enhance the lives of everybody in Fort Wayne, and I think the public's excited about it.
Candidate Anderson.
Downtown development, particularly riverfront development, is very exciting. Any of you who attended the unveiling, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. However, the devil is in the details. We need people who can help to put together those plans, put together those deals.
Concise and to the point. Let's move to the other end, and we'll go with Councilman Candidate Crawford.
Riverfront development will be the big next wow thing in Fort Wayne. We need to concentrate on that. As one of the people who voted for the Harrison Square project and the ball field, that's given me experience to be able to guide this and do it in a responsible way. Thank you.
I'm sorry, yes, Councilman Bradley. Candidate Bradley, I'm sorry.
I concur with Dr. Crawford. Riverfront development is going to be the big issue coming down, but also we need to create more places for people to go downtown too. We need to create a lot of jobs down there so we have something to look forward to when we go down there.
I also believe it's going to be a very huge issue, and it's going to be very exciting to the city of Fort Wayne and the citizens of Fort Wayne, and I would do everything as I get elected to find the resources to help fund it.
I am thrilled for the Riverfront project. As a veteran of the Coast Guard, I love my water. But I would also like to triple the handicap accessibility for parking downtown so more people can come down and enjoy it. And that includes street side parking that currently does not exist. I think regardless of our
Thank
programs.
you for your answer, candidate.
I will continue to support the mayor's initiatives of the various projects that are going on downtown and make sure that we have strong public partnerships that reflect a private side that has a strong investment in all of the.
With regards to downtown development, the devil is definitely in the details. I don't think anybody up here can really say responsibly what they would or would not do to continue until you know what the details are. Personally, I've always patronized downtown. I will continue to patronize downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidates, we know that it's tight, and we do appreciate you working with us. This next question, we're going to give you 45 seconds. We love y'all. 45 seconds to answer this next question.
This question is important, and it comes directly from the audience, very timely. It's regarding our CityLink bus system and the bus rerouting service. Has it been redone? It has been redone, but are there more opportunities? Again, relating to our CityLink bus system, are there more opportunities? 45 seconds, beginning with candidate Burgess now.
I think there's always opportunities for improvement, and that includes our CityLink bus services. I think as we develop other parts of Fort Wayne, specifically the southeast part, the 5th and 6th district, of course we have to extend services out there. The more you develop any area, especially the areas outside of downtown, the more transportation you need to those areas so that people can work, they can live, they can shop, they can do whatever. So yes, there's lots and lots of opportunities. I would like to see buses expanded out to Waynedale as well as to the other places where they're not currently normally known for. I think the more you provide public transportation, the better we can transport people. Thank you.
Let's skip around just for fun and lightning round. Candidate Osborne, since we've all had time to think about this.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I do agree that anything can get better. We can always find ways to make it better. I think that we're going to have to expand. If knowing the people that I know from different areas of town, they have to walk certain areas to be able to get a bus route, and they have difficult times trying to get to work, and it's a very, very critical thing for them to be at work and on time. So I think we have to work harder to be able to deal with public transportation.
Thank you. Candidate Anderson.
Our bus system in Fort Wayne is very much underappreciated and underrated. It is a wonderful system. We do, however, need to expand. We need to expand that based upon human need. Those of us who are fortunate to drive cars sometimes don't recognize that there are people who require public transportation to get to jobs, to provide child care, to be in contact with the rest of the community. And so we need to continue to elaborate and expand on what those services are, not in terms only of areas, but in terms of response to human need. Public transportation is always a piece of the heart of a community, and we need to do significantly better, even though we have a wonderful system as is.
Thank you. Let's move to candidate and Councilman Crawford. 45 seconds. Remember, the black panel means you have 15 seconds, and then when you see red, 5 seconds.
On my first term on council, City Council did get involved and change the management of CityLink, and it has become much more efficient since then. The City Council doesn't actually have direct management of the CityLink. It has its own board, it has its own management. But, public transportation is very important. It does need to be subsidized to help people get to their jobs and help them advance themselves. So I would be in favor of City Council doing what it can, but we do not have any direct role with CityLink.
Thank you. Let's move to candidate Bradley. Thank you.
I think as the city grows, excuse me, so is the transportation needs going to grow. And again, we're going to have to provide better transportation or more transportation for people to get around downtown at the different things that are coming about, and to make it easier for people to get to and from jobs. And I know a lot of people depend on the bus service fact because they're not fortunate enough to own cars. So again, I think that's a good area to get into, and it's a great question. So thank you for whoever asked that.
Let's move to candidate Brown.
Public transportation, I think it's going to happen where the routes are going to be expanded as a result of decreased funding with the FWCS problem that they'll have in moving some of the kids this coming, or I should say the next school year. Dr. Robinson and Steve Corona sit on the FW, or past members, on the CityLink board. So I think there's maybe something in the works. I know Wayne, at one time, we were having problems getting kids to and from school out there.
Thank you. Candidate Cross, have you answered? Let's go with you.
As John mentioned, City Council doesn't have direct management over CityLink. I think creative options should be looked at, and there are second shift workers and third shift workers that don't have access to CityLink. Perhaps a regional or district-wide shuttle could be arranged for second and third shift workers. Perhaps, creative thinking outside the box. Start renting city bicycles, city mopeds, expand services that are, available to second and third shift workers. Let's take a look at that.
Thank you. Candidate Avalon.
Over 40 years ago, I rode the bus, the public transit bus, from Central Catholic to Pontiac and Anthony, where my dad had a dry cleaners. And the days that I might have spent my bus money early and I walked, it was much better taking the bus. I understand how public transportation is for people and to be able to get around. Fort Wayne, obviously, in the last 40 years has spread out. We need more bus service. We need to keep after the federal government and other agencies that fund public transportation and make sure that that continues to be funded. I think we have a very good public transit board here in Fort Wayne. I was able to go to their press conference the other day, and I was very pleased with what's going on.
Thank you. Let's move to candidate Osborne. I don't believe you've answered yet. Yes. You have. Thank you, sir. Then finally, candidate Chambers, CityLink services and opportunities.
Yes. With the growth of the city, we absolutely have to find ways to expand upon the existing system. We definitely need later hours, different opportunities in location. Although the city doesn't have direct oversight of CityLink, we need to make sure that we have a partnership in place where CityLink is able to hear the concerns of the constituents and be able to help the constituents get the needs met to have a better transportation system. And also look at different funding opportunities at the federal level that possibly we could have a makeshift local transportation system that maybe be provided through nonprofits.
Thank you. This question came from the audience, and we do appreciate all questions that come to the moderators. I'm going to read it, but I am not going to allow the candidates to answer because it's not fair to any of them to be able to answer this question, and nor do I think they can answer other than perhaps councilmen. But we're not going to ask for an answer. The question is, the alternative transportation trail and development of Hannah Street has been approved. When will it be completed? That's not a fair question for them to answer. Do we agree? We agree, all right. The question that they will be allowed to answer and that they will have 30 seconds to answer, they cannot tell you when it's going to happen because they aren't elected. The question that we will allow them to answer and we'll give them 30 seconds to answer is this one. What will you do to help African American businesses be a part of downtown development? 30 seconds, what will you do to help downtown businesses develop African American businesses? And we will start with candidate Bradley. 30 seconds.
Thank you. That's a good question. I think what we need to do is look to the incubators to help these people develop their business plans and to make sure their business will be a success and not a failure, and whatever it takes to get them downtown. I don't know what kind of business they would be bringing, but whatever it is, we need it downtown, that's for sure. and it's going to create jobs. It's going to create a bigger draw for the downtown area. So let's bring it on.
Candidate Crawford.
Basically, equal access, equal opportunity for everyone, and the way we improve business, not just for African Americans, but everybody, is to keep taxes as low as we can, keep regulations to a minimum so people can start new businesses and start them easily and get into that venue without a lot of paperwork. So basically, the basics and equal opportunity for everyone.
Candidate Anderson.
Fort Wayne is the city of relationships. Businesses develop partly because people work together. We need to all know one another better in the city of Fort Wayne. Black people need to know white people. White people need to know Hispanic people. It is out of those kind of relationships that business plans develop. And so I am very much in favor of putting together coalitions of churches, of nonprofits, of businesses in order to target specific kinds of businesses.
Thank you for your answer. Candidate Avila.
I think, first of all, making sure that every opportunity is available to everybody that wants to have a business in downtown Fort Wayne. I think reaching out to the groups of the community that these business owners would come from, making sure that they understand the framework on how to get your business started and be able to locate in downtown Fort Wayne. I think that would be the groups that I would reach out to and promote that business development.
Thank you for your answer. Candidate Brown.
I have dreams, we all have dreams. You know, the dream is to have a better downtown. I think the number one objective would first be to set forth the educational program. We all know why businesses fail. A lack of planning, a lack of resources, lack of funds. I would tap into a market of venture capitalists that would invest in Fort Wayne.
Thank you for your answer. Candidate Burgess.
I think it's important to help all small businesses, but particularly small businesses that are normally underrepresented, such as the African American community. You know, having those businesses in downtown is great, but I think we need to focus on doing what we can to support those type of businesses throughout the entire city, and not just downtown. You know, money is where money's at, or business is where money's at, and if I was a small business owner of African American, I'd be targeting places where there's money.
Thank you for your answer. Candidate Chambers.
I will continue to do what I'm doing right now as an African American business owner of 2 businesses downtown. I would make sure that I continue to mentor businesses that want to come downtown, make them be aware of CANI, SBA, taking advantage of those opportunities to help you to get your doors open and keep your doors open.
Thank you. Candidate Cross.
I would like to say that the opportunities for all citizens in Fort Wayne to develop a business downtown currently exist. Unfortunately, we have a poor roadmap to get you there and to help you navigate that. I would like to encourage everyone of all ethnic cultures to explore the opportunities from the community development corporations that we have, and find out what's available to you. All small businesses require capital. All small businesses require the same thing. I would just like to let you know that your dreams are
Thank
only
you for your
limit.
answer. And last but not least, Candidate Osborne.
Well, I'm very excited about this. I'm looking forward to going and meeting with the business owners, seeing exactly what their needs are, so I can help them get the roadmap to get downtown if that's where they want to go, or help develop their business right where they're at. One of my main goals is to make sure that the small businesses in this community is funded well and actually has a good way to succeed in this city.
Thank you. This will be your last question directed to you, and you'll have 30 seconds to answer this question.
We'll begin at the far 30 seconds. We'll begin at the far end with candidate and Councilman Crawford. Tax abatement is a widely recognized economic development tool. When and how do you think it should be used? 30 seconds.
think it should be used primarily to attract businesses that would not come without the tax abatement. Those are primarily manufacturers and distributors because they can go anywhere. I do not support tax abatements for doctors, which I am, dentists, or service providers because they're coming to service the population here. They won't come because of tax abatements. So we need to refine it and use it when it really makes a difference.
Let's move in order now for expediency. Candidate Bradley.
Excuse me, I agree with the same way. Extend the tax abatements only to new businesses coming in that's going to create jobs, something that's going to be worthwhile. Give them a tax abatement for 3, 5, or 7 years. And after that, they start paying because we need to retain some of that money back into the city. So I think that's a very important thing to do.
Candidate Osborne.
I am for tax abatements when necessary to create new jobs and help existing companies grow. But I believe strongly there needs to be a better check and balance. I think there needs to be a way to follow back up and do a check and balance with who we are giving tax abatements to.
Candidate Cross.
Tax abatements should be limited in scope, as John mentioned. I think performance level checkpoints should be in place, and there should be sound consequences for those who cut and run on us.
Candidate Chambers.
I am in support of tax abatement. We have an existing system that can work. We need to hold the companies accountable that fail to keep their obligation. We need to build upon and actually start rescinding and collecting the money back if they decide to fail, as Ms. Cross just stated. I definitely support tax abatement.
With 30 seconds, Candidate Burgess.
I am for phasing out tax abatements. They have been proven over and over again to not maintain the jobs that they are supposed to create. We need a better system of checks and balances, as others have said. I do agree that tax abatements are primarily best used for manufacturing and distribution centers and not e-commerce or restaurants, retails, doctors. But generally, I am opposed to them. I think we need to lower the taxes for everybody, and that's how you attract new jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Candidate Brown.
Well, I work for Dana, so yeah, I'm for tax abatement. If you get an opportunity to come and take a look at the corporation, we transcended into a 21st century corporation from a 19th century application. So there again, I'm all for it from a manufacturing perspective. We're looking at probably in the next 2 years hiring another 200 people as a result of tax abatement. So yes.
And thank you. Now, Candidate Avila.
I am in favor of tax abatements. It's a reality. They are a tool that is going to be used now and in the future. I look at it more on an equal basis. Old business that's already here that wants to expand and new business, both of them have their risks of fulfilling what they plan on doing, and I believe also we should have a very strong rules for tax abatements and how they're used and what they actually produce, and I would be a strong advocate to make sure that the tax abatements are used properly because it is taking away from the tax base.
Thank you for your answer, Candidate. And finally, Candidate Anderson, 30 seconds.
Tax abatements can be a very useful tool, but they need to be used strategically. They need to be used in a focused manner, not only to bring new business and manufacturing jobs into Fort Wayne, as Dr. Crawford suggests, but also to focus on businesses that provide a living wage job for families, businesses that represent the diversity of our community, businesses that really fit the picture of who we are as a community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidates, before you leave the table, we want to thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for being here with us. The job that they are running for is for City Council at large. It pays $22,000 a year. You do get to vote for the best 3 candidates that you have heard today. We encourage you to go out and vote. Candidate Anderson, Avila, Brown, Burgess, Chambers, Cross, who am I missing? He's not there. Osborne, Bradley, and Crawford. We appreciate you for being a part of this event today.
We want to say welcome to every last one of our candidates here today and remind you that we have some wonderful timekeepers. Timekeepers, if you'll stand so that they can see who you are. And when you have Thank you so much. For our panelists, when you see a black panel, that means you have 15 seconds to go. A red panel means you have 5 seconds. And when one of these wonderful young ladies stands up, the time is over. And so again, we want to thank you for being here. Audience, we want to remind you that we have questions, and that if you have questions to write in, there are carved persons standing now with placards, and we ask that you write your question down. And my wonderful colleague here, Mr. Schmidt, and I will do all we can to have you accommodate. Again, welcome, candidates. And what we want to start with is this question, and we're going to give you 60 seconds, and that very plainly is, if elected, what would be your primary goal for the next year? 60 seconds. We start now with Mr. Roach.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Roach, Democrat for mayor. Our incumbent mayor here, he said if he's elected, he's going to promise 4 more years of the same. My intention is to put a halt to it and take things in a different direction. I've studied for years of economic theory and public policy and government finance, and our mayor is spinning us into a hole. And so my intention is to take that money that they're pouring into that 10 by 10 block, let the private sector take care of that, and take the money that we're spending there and distribute it out through our neighborhoods, to our streets, our curbs, our sidewalks, and rehabbing some of these houses that are all around town that can be fixed up and sold as affordable housing to people just starting out. You know, it costs $25,000 a house to demolish. So every other house or every third house, that's $75,000. They're selling brand new houses for $75,000 just around the corner here. So there's a lot more work to be done, and I'm going to go in a different direction. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And same question for you, Mr. Cook.
My name's Tom Cook, and my main goal if I become mayor, and I'm still working on it even if I don't become mayor, I want to see more police presence on this end of town, south end. There's a lot of shootings, a lot of crime going on in this area. We need more police presence. Also, I like to see the south end to do something with these vacant houses. They don't need to be torn down, all right? They need to be fixed up. Take that money that the government gave us to tear it down, build it up, and fix it up, and give it to people that can do it. I mean, we got beautiful homes all around here, and we got some junky little houses that needs to be fixed. And I think we need to work on that. And as the sidewalks and the streets in this area looks bad. So my main goal is to work on the south end of Fort Wayne and make sure that the money's spent on this end, not downtown.
Mr. Boston.
Could you repeat the question again?
Sure, I will. If elected, what will be your primary goal for the next year?
Well, as I see it, Mayor Henry's done a pretty decent job, but how many of you out here do not have a vacant house, a boarded up house in your area? I would take and look at moving some of the money. Maybe the riverfront needs to go a little slower, a little later. How about putting some of the money out there, going after these banks, making them fix them up, make them leave the electric on? We could even put the homeless people in there. Let's get our neighborhoods cleaned up, and that will improve the value, also improve the tax rate. So I'd rather see us spread out and get businesses out in the south, the southeast. There's no reason that all the developers are building homes north. That's the way I do it. And I like the paddle because I got it used on me a lot of times between the 4th and 6th grade. I had to sign them.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. The last 7 years, all of us have concentrated on developing our downtown. Why? Because we wanted to make it a point of destination. And now we have an average of 500,000 people a year coming to our downtown to bring money and infuse capital into our community. As a result, we've gained a tremendous amount of momentum. But just like our downtown is the heart of our city, neighborhoods are the backbone. So after I'm elected, the next 4 years are going to be spent primarily in neighborhood development. Things like Renaissance Point, where we built 80 homes, and every single one of them is sold. And Mr. Biggs has now built 4 more. They're up for sale. We're going to expand that concept too. And we're going to build new homes up and down Lafayette and Clinton Street in vacant lots. We also just received an $8 million federal grant to demolish those homes that are in your neighborhoods that need to be taken down. Thank you.
One of the primary things that would focus on would be citizen apathy. And the reason for that is because we have so many issues going on in this city, and there's only a small amount of citizens who really know what's going on and really care what's going on. And we need to get more involvement and more people involved and more of the regular, everyday citizens involved. I think that Mayor Henry has done an incredible job with the 311 and the Citizens Advocate Program, and I think that's just been a great success. I would like to see that expanded. I would like to see that included in, we have firehouses in every part of the city that are local to every part of the city. I would like to see that be a starting point for people that have a question or want to contact someone in the city, and the 311 and Citizens Advocate Programs could have papers or personnel at fire stations if at all possible. But I think that would be the main point of my administration.
Mr. Stevens.
First of all, I would like to thank IDAAC for this wonderful, wonderful forum that you're sponsoring. This is the third forum that I have participated in, and each one of them have been getting better and better, and this is the last one. It is the best. Our country is facing some soul-searching times. To some, circumstances appear to be revisiting the difficult days of old, the days of civil strife. They are of the past. If I was mayor, my emphasis would be on about three things. First of all, I would bring about a stronger neighborhood development. The neighborhoods would become stronger. Look like we're lacking that. And then the other thing, we
I'd like
would
to thank
develop.
you very much for that answer. We need to cut you there. And we'll ask the photographer if you could. We're watching the timekeepers, so we need you to be in the center or to the back of them so that we can see the time. I want to start with you, Mr. Cook. And this second question comes in the backdrop when you say Ferguson, Missouri, when you say Trayvon Martin, when you think of South Carolina. I want to know, what do you believe? Is more diversity needed amongst our fire and our police department? And if so, what is your plan and how would you handle such matters?
I think that
60 seconds, and my apology, and then we'll go down from there and come back to the end.
I think that we should have a little bit, again, more presence of the police department. They should be walking the beat, not driving their squad cars, okay? That people know who they are. We ought to get back into the precincts in the neighborhoods, where the neighborhoods knew who the police department is. Yes, we have some officers that are bad officers out there. I see it every day. I'm not an Afro-American, but I'm harassed by a few of them myself. So, so I see it every day. And, it is sad that we have bad officers out there. But if we can complain to the chief himself and not go to the complaint department, maybe the chief can do a little bit better than what he does, I think. He's a good chief, don't get me wrong, he's done a lot. But I think he needs to do a little bit better on getting the police more knowing the people out there. Thank you.
Thank you. 32 years I spent in the Marine Corps, retired. I was stationed in Detroit right at the end of the riots, and I don't see color. When you say diversity, I look more qualified. If in this town we had, say, 90% blacks are better qualified to be police, let's have 90% black. If we have 90% white, let's have white. Let's get people qualified. Don't look at color, but be sure everybody has an equal chance to be a police officer or a fireman. And I think Gary, I got in trouble when I called him captain instead of chief, but I think he's doing an excellent job. And we need that. So I don't look at diversified as color. I look at diversified as educated. Thank you.
Thank you. The City of Fort Wayne actually has made tremendous strides in the area of communication with all of our citizens. We're blessed right now to have the lowest crime rate in the entire region in violent crime. So we only have 4 per 1,000. The closest one to us is 7 per 1,000. We work with programs like My Brother's Keeper, which is a president's program. We have a program called Cities United, which is run by Headley. We have a number of things going on. We have police officers at neighborhood association meetings and at partnership meetings, all in an attempt to make sure that things that happened in Ferguson will never happen in the city of Fort Wayne, because we do try to be as open and as accessible and approachable as absolutely possible. Thank you.
I believe that our police force and our fire department is impeccable, and they do a great job. And there are certainly some bad police officers, and there are bad people in any business that we are involved in, anywhere. I believe that the school resource department, I know some police officers that are school resource officers. They do a great job, and they stop a lot of the issues right then, right there. The south side, I happen to know, is more patrolled than the north side. There are more officers on this side of town than there are on the north side of town, because there are more calls on this side of town. I would love to see, and I don't know the answer to the question, but or the answer on how it would work, but I would love to see more friendliness when people are stopped, and more availability to be able to talk to each other. The police officers are there to help us, and unfortunately it's going to take all of us, not just the police officer side, but it's going to take the public side as well to help out.
Question again, please.
Just a second. He wants a question.
Okay. Want to know what your feeling is about should a police department being diverse. And there are a lot of people in the backdrops of looking at Ferguson, Missouri, North or South Carolina and what have you. Should a department be diverse, A, and B, what would be your plan or how could we expect you to respond as a city leader?
Thank you. I love this community. I love Fort Wayne. I'm a 69-year-old native of Fort Wayne. And so this issue on Ferguson, we have to be very careful on it. There is mistrust with our police force, and I would extend to build that trust back up so that we can be the community that we should be, passing good to great.
Thank you very much, and Mr. Roach.
Thank you. Well, having a crime rate low as compared to Chicago, Indianapolis, Cleveland, or Detroit isn't saying much. When Ferguson had their troubles here, they brought in the Federal Attorney General and the Department of Justice to do an audit of the police department from top to bottom to see where they could improve their best practices and to clean house, so to speak, and also to promote the cops, the good cops. So when Elliot Ness, back in Prohibition days, was appointed Public Safety Director of Cleveland, that's what he did. He audited the department, he cleaned house, got rid of the bad cops, brought in some new good cops. I would suggest maybe a woman police chief and maybe some of our newer veterans from the wars. And so you got Rudy Escobedo, Leroy Ross Church, and smartphones make really good public safety devices. Thank you.
Okay, we've had a number of questions today of various candidates about economic development in general. Well, this is a very specific question from the audience, and I'm gonna give you folks, if you choose to use it, this one is a fascinating question, so I'm gonna give you a minute and a half to use if you choose to. You don't have to, but up to a minute and a half, timekeepers. And because candidate Roach was the last to speak, I guess I'll start with candidate Cook, and then we'll move on down. Oh, I'm sorry, okay. We'll talk with Mr. Bastian. Okay, we'll start with you. Here it is. What will you do to attract specifically high-tech jobs to Fort Wayne?
Well, one of the things, we're in the Midwest where we're located. We're in the middle of 2/3 of the country. So companies should come here. Now, high-tech is great, and we'll bring it in. I went to Purdue, if you want to call that high-tech or not, but we need that knowledge, but we also need not so much high-tech to grow. So I tend to you're asked specific about high tech, I would try to get our people, help our students. Our students go out of here and they go off to the universities and they never come back. Let's help. Maybe we take and help them with their money to go to school. And we say, okay, when you get a job, 5% of each paycheck goes back to pay your note. Let's go to high tech. And I'm not talking Harvard, because we can see what happens if people go to Harvard. I'm talking good universities. Like you got one, is at Times up in Angola, in those universities. So yes, you need high tech, but you also need not so high tech. Thank you.
Candidate Henry.
Good jobs out with talent. So the basis of the entire foundation for bringing in new jobs as far as high tech is to make sure that we have a workforce that's educated in that field. I've been talking regularly with IPFW, Ivy Tech, in order to enhance their high-tech educational programs. Because if we don't have an educated foundation, jobs aren't going to come. So that's really what we need to do, is to concentrate working with our post-secondary educational programs so that our young people have the talents that necessary for the new jobs to come. Otherwise, new jobs won't come. We have an innovation center funded by the city of Fort Wayne and by IPFW and by the state to provide incubator programs for those who want to start off in high tech. And we have an enterprise zone center not too far from here. But the foundation is really, it really rests on the educational component of our community. We have 30,000 college students in this community. We got to make sure those who are interested in high tech and science and technology, engineering and mathematics, that they have the opportunity to do exactly that.
Well, I certainly echo what Mayor Henry says, and part of the way to make sure that there's many young people in the job market is available to them is that to make this city more advantageous to stay here. The downtown development program would be awesome for them to make the city citywide. We can make improvements citywide and a diverse city. We need to make our young people stay here so that they will work here. And if there's a job force here, the companies will come here. And the other things I wrote down, of course, were tax abatements for the large high-tech companies, programs with the schools, and just to make it a diverse city and more jobs available for them. If they'll stay here, the companies will come to employ them.
Candidate Stevenson.
Fort Wayne is revolving from a manufacturing community to a community to bring about good paying jobs. And what we would do, we would work with our local school districts and we would look for funds to nurture teacher and parental training. So we would find funds for those, and those would be funds in the high-tech area, trying to eliminate literacy of the computer. And then we would also find funds for older students, trying to enhance their ability for the computer, specifically programming skills. Thank you.
Candidate Roach.
Well, you can have all the education in the world, but if the pay scale of Fort Wayne is not high enough for these students to repay their student loans and to make a decent living for their degree, then they're going to go somewhere else. That's just simple supply and demand. As for high-tech jobs, there isn't a person in China that can't do the same job running a machine as an American for a lot less, I'm sorry to say. And this is a trouble all the way across the Rust Belt, everywhere from Buffalo all the way up to Green Bay and Milwaukee. So I have some suggestions here. One is you need to have access to capital if you're going to start a high-tech job, whether computers, software, Silicon Valley type jobs, movie, TV, video production. I'm going to go off the reservation here for a second. Colorado is raking in hundreds of millions of dollars with legalized weed, where we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to keep the weed away. And I think that's prohibition didn't work the last time around. We have that OmniSource property. Look at cities like Las Vegas, Reno, Nevada. they survive whether the economy goes up or down. They're not dependent on one type of industry. Thank you.
My name is Tom Cook. I feel that we need more education out there before we bring the jobs out here, okay? Because, I mean, I'm thinking that Fort Wayne Community Schools, and I hope there's no teachers here, but I'm thinking Fort Wayne Community Schools is more interested in the scores of these children than making them an education. I think that, I mean, like, I'm gonna use my granddaughter for an example. She's 7 years old, and she can't even make change for a $20 bill yet. And that's ridiculous. My daughter now is trying to get homeschool, and it's really rough on her. But she's 7 years old, and she can't make change for a $20 bill. Now, that is kind of bad of our system in Fort Wayne. And I apologize if there's teachers out here. We had some good teachers when I went to Southside, but I think we need a little bit more schooling that teach these kids what life is all about, and, you know, that, you know, we need something better than what we got, that's for sure. Thank you.
Okay, this next one also comes from the audience, and I think we'll just do 30 seconds on this. It's about the CityLink bus system. Do you feel any of the routes should be redone, and do you see opportunities for expansion in the system?
As was mentioned previously by other candidates, CityLink is a private corporation that city really doesn't have any control over. They have their own board of directors. They have their own finances. However, we do make appointments to their board. We do have some input into their operations, but it's simply from an advisory perspective. And we have talked about increasing routes. We have talked to them about making more buses for the handicap available. And certainly as we annex property in the future, we'll have to expand the routes. Thank you.
Any comments?
Certainly, as we know that the city doesn't have that much to do with it, I would, as we appoint people to the board, we would ask that they be cognizant of the fact that we need to transport more people into more areas, and as the city grows, hopefully, and that there's more handicap buses available to everyone.
The CityLink system is short-changed. We need a better way of doing things. And wherever there's a will, there is a way. And we would find that way to bring a better transportation system in our city.
Candidate Roach, I guess.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have a neighbor who happens to be on the CityLink board, so we talk about this subject frequently. And so some of the things that we need to have are night service so that people that work second shift jobs can get around, maybe 30-minute bus service and bus huts so people don't have to stand out in the rain and the elements all year round. Regardless of how much it costs, it's an essential service that any normal government should provide. And since we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in a 10-block area, it would be prudent that perhaps we could spend that money to help transport our citizens so that we can all earn a living. Thank you.
Candidate Cook.
Unfortunately, I ride the bus, so I know bus service is pretty good. I do have to admit to that. We do need larger services on the route. There's some routes that people don't even have. I think we need longer service. That way third shift people can get to work instead of have to worry about how they're going to get to work. So I think the city should take some of that legacy money and give it to the bus station, you know, the bus people, and see how they can work it out. They've got the drivers, but they ain't got the money.
Candidate Basti.
When you don't know a lot about something, I think you should just ask people to find out. I don't want to ask like a Washington, D.C. politician and give you one of those round-the-tree answers. However, I would study to see what need to be done first, but I would like, until we get our school system straight with buses, maybe there's some way those CityLink bus can maybe pick up some of those students going to a school. You know they go by some of those schools. So that's as much as I know.
We'll go 60 seconds on this question. And candidates, you've heard this question echoed throughout the day. I want to give you your opportunity to speak to it. and we'll start with Mr. Collins. And that is 60 seconds. With the removal of collective bargaining, what is your stance on the city's workers having union bargaining rights? And how will you ensure that non-safety employees receive fair discipline? So what's your position on collective bargaining, and what will you do to ensure the rights of non-safety workers? Mr. Collins.
Well, I'm not personally a big fan of unions, and that's for a number of reasons. Collective bargaining, while on the other hand, is, for instance, Mayor Henry could come in and say, and run a city and tell all the employees, I'm going to do this and this and this, and everything would be great, and then the new administration comes in and everything changes. So there has to be some form of bargaining that everybody can agree to, put down into a contract and say, this is what we're going to do. And I agree with that. That needs to be done. The one reason I don't necessarily, I'm a big fan of unions, is the fact that generally they promote or help the guy that is not doing as well, and they don't help the person that is doing great to try to better himself all the time. And I would love to be able to make sure that we promote the people that should be promoted and don't promote the people that shouldn't be promoted.
Our country and our city reap the benefits of the great task that the union has brought to us. And I would do everything within my power to bring about representation to all city workers. That would make them happy. Unions' main thing is for equality, and that's what I stand for. Equality for all people.
Come Mr. Roach, and then we'll go back up this way.
Yes, I support our unions, city, public safety, non-public safety, everybody. I think that it raises everybody's standards of living. A rising tide floats all boats. The unions are fond of saying an injustice to one is an injustice of all. So the Republican City Council here, they're pretty hypocritical to make special interest carve-outs to exempt our public safety unions while sticking it to all the people that make our water work, make our sewers flow, fix our streets and our potholes, and do all the hard work of making a city operate. So I shop at union stores whenever possible. I buy American motor vehicles. I always check the label of whatever I buy to make sure that it's made in America, or some people can't afford it, so I just do what I can to support our unions as much as possible, and that's what I'll do. Thank you.
I think that was the dumbest thing I ever heard, that they took that away from you guys. I'm sorry to put it that way, I really do. Because that gives the people, your boss, a way to say, hey, it's time for you to go. And that's not right to you folks. If I'm elected, I'm going to make sure you guys get that back again, and I will promise you that.
How long we got?
60 seconds.
Okay, I'll stand up on this one. And mention, if you want to see what some of my opinion is, there's a flyer made, and it's not a real fancy one, it's off my printer. In the back tells you some of that idea, what I feel. I've worked union, I've worked non-union. I've owned 5 companies. I was general manager of 2 companies, and we had several thousand people. Now, the thing is, I don't believe that any foreman or anybody, and I don't know if you want to work this into collective bargaining, should be able to fire a guy without the guy having some say-so. And he should go forward and talk to higher up or a few people in your company that has a right to get there. Because no one should be, well, I don't like you because, you didn't buy me a beer the other night. That's not the reason. And then people get fired for dumb things. But when we get to the whole organization, like the firemen, policemen, street department, they should have a hearing and be able to bargain, but not strike.
Thank you. When City Council eliminated collective bargaining, as your mayor, I vetoed it. When attempted again to take away further benefits, I vetoed it. I don't know how much more I can say than to say to you, if I'm reelected mayor and I get a friendly enough council, collectively bargaining will be reinstated in the city of Fort Wayne. We've had it for almost 45 years. They tried to fix something that wasn't broken. All we're asking for in this community is fair wages, fair benefits, fair working conditions, and an adequate pension. That's all it's about. And yet council went in and they tried to take all of that away and reestablish the entire collective bargaining process to meet what they thought was the appropriate thing. My friends, our employees know what's right. Thank you.
Fort Wayne tries to be competitive with other cities, obviously. Everyone talks about it. How do you view Fort Wayne's competitive standing right now compared with other similar cities? And as mayor, how would you improve our city's competitiveness in terms of just general livability or taxes or job creation? And you can really talk about this in anything that strikes your fancy that you think is important to increase our competitiveness as we, quite frankly, compete around the Midwest and around the nation. What would you do as mayor? And I'm going to also give you a full minute and a half if you choose to use it on this question. And I'm going to start with candidate Stevenson and then work your way back toward me.
Thank you. Making Fort Wayne more competitive. That is a task, but it's a task that we can accomplish together. We're going to be conclusive in our efforts, and we will achieve that task. And we'll achieve that task by making housing available, affordable housing available for everyone, job opportunities available for everyone, and we'll just work hard at doing it. And if there's a will, there's a way. We can accomplish it working and moving together forward with everyone included.
Earlier I mentioned citizen apathy, and I believe that that is just such a major part of every answer. If we can get more people involved in this city, in the decisions that we make every day, I believe that we can be a major factor in just about everything. We can use social media, the 311 and the Citizens Advocate Program that the mayor has done such a great job with, honestly. And I hate to keep saying great things about the mayor, but he's done a good job at that. I even used it personally myself once. But we do that more and listen to the people of Fort Wayne, we can do great things, because we are all here together. We're all citizens of Fort Wayne, every single one of us, and we all want the same thing at the end of the day. We want the police to come and be nice to us and protect us when something bad's happening. We want the fire department to come put out the fire when our house is on fire, and we want our roads and our streets to look good. We all want exactly the same.
Economic development really consists of three components: attraction, retention, and growth. And I think we position ourselves to be very attractive to a lot of businesses. For instance, General Mills moved in not that long ago. And one of the reasons they did is not just because of the financial package we put together, but the quality of life of our community. We have momentum right now that this community has not seen in years. And businesses are beginning to take notice. And not only those coming in, but those who are here. They're staying here. BAE Corporation. BAE, when they decided to stay here and keep 1,000 jobs here, this wasn't their home originally. It was over in Ohio. But they decided to stay. Fort Wayne Metals. When they began to grow, he was going to move. But he decided to stay because of the quality of life of this community. And growth, look at Sweetwater Sound. He has doubled the size of his employees. He started off in the back of a van here in Fort Wayne, and now he's got almost 500 employees. Quality of life of our community is what it's all about, my friends. We have a tremendous city, from our parks, to our downtown, to our recreational opportunities, to our school systems. That's what economic development is all about, is to make sure those who are here feel comfortable to be here. Thank you.
Mr. Bastian, just before you answer, we're going to ask for the conversations on the outside of the square here, if you'll bring them down so that our candidates have a full opportunity to be heard. Thank you, if you'll continue.
Well, there's a few of us at this table, or a couple, that remember International Harvester, remember General Electric. They all left, okay? We are sitting in the prime area. We're 3 hours from, or 3.5 hours from Chicago, 3.5 from Detroit, 3 hours from Columbus, Indianapolis, hour and a half. We're in the middle of where transportation. We got an excellent rail system that goes all over the world from here, or the United States from here. What we need to do is, well, let's say it this way. The town has an excellent park system. We got stuff to get people here. We got several universities. But why are the companies going Ashley? They're going out of the fringe area. They're going up the Waterloo area. Because no matter how you cut it, you've got to get some type of reason to bring a company in here. Because their board of directors are looking at that. They don't care whether you got the best school system. They're looking at what's for the company. And the way you get that is you do have a good school system, but you give them some tax rebates. But I would do it a little different. I would say, okay, the first year you get a rebate, the second year you pay full, third year you get a rebate, fourth year you entice them in here and you get them in here. But you don't give them everything and let them walk out after 5 years and go somewhere else. I think we got the expert area to do it. Thank you.
Andy Cook.
Okay, I think we need to realize that Fort Wayne's a pretty good-sized city, and we need to get more factories out here. We need to get the rail service back into Fort Wayne. We need to bring that stuff here, because as long as we do not have the rail system, we're not going to get too much here. As I know a situation not too long ago where I talked to a gentleman, and he asked me, he says, do you have a rail system? And I says, no, and that was one of the problems why he said he didn't want to come to Fort Wayne. And, that's sad, but, I understand that that's not Fort Wayne's problem about the rail system. But the thing is right now we need to get our neighborhoods looking a little better than what they are. And because, we can put factories in here. We can build all we want. But if our neighborhoods look the way they do, people are not going to stay. He mentioned about, all these other ones that are staying and everything like that. There's reasons why they're staying here. They got a contract with the city, or they have a reason. They're not here because they want to be here. They have a reason to be here. And, I don't know too much about it because sound water I don't know too much about. But I know we've lost GE. And, now we've got some vacant buildings that we have to worry about. The one that really upsets me the most is you're putting apartments down here by the Ball Diamond, and the most expensive is $2,700 for an apartment. How many people can afford that? Think about it before we do it.
Candidate Roach.
I think the term competitiveness is kind of a nebulous term and not really specific, but Fort Wayne can and does compete with any other city in America. We're just not getting the marketing effort out here. Our economic development agencies that live in their nice ivory tower downtown there, they have lots of time to run around and help hold their meetings, but we're paying them millions and millions of dollars, and I don't think we're getting our money's worth. I think the first thing we need to do is fire them and get some people in there that are going to get the job done. Fort Wayne has a reputation for corruption. Fort Wayne has a reputation for an excessive police department. It's called Fort Wayne Arrive on Vacation, Leave on Probation. People aren't going to go visit a police state. When I was driving down here from the north end of town, down Coliseum Boulevard here and around Pontiac, there's a ghost town. All those industries are gone. Our Parks Department budget is being gutted to build the Ash brokerage building, and that's going to benefit the few at the expense of the many. Rail service, it's a joke that Fort Wayne doesn't have a railroad station down at Baker Street there where a train actually stops. So you have to go up to a bus hut in Waterloo, wait in the freezing cold for a train that stopped in Crestline to get a ride. So we're not getting the job done, and we need to get some new leadership, and I intend to clean house. Thank you.
And with that, we have a wrap-up question, and we're going to give you a wonderful opportunity to do what you've been doing and you're going to be pressing to do as we work toward this election. And that is, why do you want to be mayor of this great city? And number two, why should the persons before you vote for you? Why do you want to be mayor? And why should the persons vote for you? We're going to give you 45 seconds on this elevator speech opportunity. And Mr. Roach, we're going to start with you.
Okay, I was born in Santa Barbara, California in 1960. I lived there about a year. Moved here to Fort Wayne in 1967. I'm a lifer here, I guess, of Fort Wayne. And the last two elections, general elections, I received 25% of the vote in the first one in 2010, 30% of the vote in 2014. So I figured that there's a lot of people that are saying, we want Roach, and so that's why I'm running, is to help get the unheard voices out there to give them a voice. Thank you.
I was born and raised here in Fort Wayne. I lived on Broadway and Kennard all my life. And I went to Southside, Fairfield Elementary. And I went to Hoagland Elementary and then Fairfield Junior High, then Southside. I love Fort Wayne. I see a lot of changes that need to be done in Fort Wayne. That's not being done. You call 311. If they don't like you, it's not going to be done. And I'm going to use this little story here. I had a street light that's been out for 3 months. I called 311, not been done yet, not been done. Finally, I talked to the gentleman that does, the company that does it. I called them personally, and guess what? I got a street light now. And I've done this for 3 months trying to get this fixed. So, and the reason why you should vote for me is because I love Fort Wayne, and I will do the best to serve you.
Mr. Bastian.
Thank you. I moved up here in 1965. I had a job chance with a company to come up here. I've got 4 kids, were raised here. 6 grandkids are raised here. I have one of my sons is buried here. And I've owned 5 businesses and so on. I don't have any mountains to climb. And I told my wife, she thinks I'm dumb for doing this. I'm the only one that's got a sticker on the car, vote for Bastian, not endorsed by wife, you know. But you have to have a sense of humor, but you got to know when to crack down. And a good friend of mine named Denise, her son was killed in her arms. I don't want Fort Wayne to go that. I want to leave something for the other younger people, because look at my hair. It's not getting any whiter or ever darker. So I appreciate, and I think I owe something to the town.
Thank you so much. Mayor Henry.
Thank you. I believe the job that I've done for the last 7 years speaks for itself. Our crime rate is down. Our unemployment is down. Our downtown is now a point of destination by hundreds of thousands of people. We were able to put together the Legacy Fund. We now have access to $50 million, which we'll be investing in our community for years to come. No other community has access to capital like that. We developed Martin Luther King Bridge, which has been award-winning. We have Parkview Field, which brings in thousands and thousands of people. We were able to expand 911. We developed the 311. We combined the city and county police in the same building. We combined the city and county administration into one building, and I can go on and on. My friends, we have just begun. Thank you.
I grew up here in America, obviously. I'm a transplant here to Fort Wayne, came here in the 80s, and I believe that sometimes the people that move here and stay here to raise their family are the ones that understand the most what we have here. We have an awesome city. I ran for mayor because you should be able to run as a everyday normal citizen, and that's what I just wanted to show, that a normal everyday citizen can run for any public office. I would just ask you to vote for me because I'm just going to look at the issues, make a decision, and involve everyone in the city, if at all.
I was born in Fort Wayne some 69 years ago. And not only that, but I love Fort Wayne. But that is not 2 good reasons to vote for me. Vote for me because I am the most qualified person to run for Fort Wayne. I have found better than 1,600 jobs helping people become independent and so forth. I've also directed the relocation for downtown where you see the Civic Center, you see the Main Street project. I did all that. and I've worked for 6 mayors. And not only that, but I'm in charge of
Thank
a
you for your
multi-budget.
response. We appreciate you all being here. Honored that you took out of your day. Candidate Roach, Candidate Cook, Candidate Baxter, Candidate Henry, Candidate Collins, and Candidate Stevenson. We appreciate you being a part of the IDAAC forum, and we hope that you will come back again, and we wish you the best in the May primary. Thank you so much.